Hello and welcome. Today, I'm making a simple glow lantern. Here, I've got an old spice jar that I pulled the label off of, which left a sticky residue. Later, we'll fill this with a photoluminescent powder that I'll explain later, allowing our lantern to absorb and then emit light for up to 11 hours after. I rubbed in a little olive oil thoroughly first to remove the residue. Now a little water and washing up liquid. Then after a rinse, it's fully clear. Then I began working on the lantern frame, with two 1 meter lengths of cotton twine. I put the strings together and found the midpoint. I then twisted that middle section, folded it back on itself, then holding all the strings together like it was one continuous piece of string, I tied a knot near the end, creating a small loop. Next, from the bottom of the knot, I splayed the 4 pieces of string out in an X pattern. I held down the piece pointing to the bottom left of the screen, a short way away from the knot, and then I pulled it over the one going to the top left, going directly away from me. Then I held down each string a short distance from the knot, folding it over the next one along in a clockwise direction until I was back where I started. And now I'll just pull that one through the first fold. And now I'll tighten it into a small knot. This spaces out the strings flatter and more evenly so they move around less in the finished lantern. I then put it over the top of the glass and held the strings down with a rubber band. Now it's empty currently to make it easier for you to see what I do with the strings in a second, but it should be filled with the powder at this stage. I slid the band to select where I wanted the first section of crossover. I then pulled one of the strings over the next one to the right. Then I twisted them together clockwise so they switched positions, and continued on all the way to where I started. The final one I just needed to pull over and then under. I could then slide the band down so that it locked everything in place. Now I just needed to pull on some of the strings to adjust it into an even frame shape. A second band now goes on, and we repeat what we just did a bit lower down. I'm now going to bundle up all of the strings and twist them so it tightens up before tying it off. There are two main photoluminescent or glow-in-the-dark powders you can buy today, both of which are considered non-toxic. These are zinc sulfide, which is the most common one, and strontium aluminate. I got the strontium aluminate kind because compared to zinc sulfide, it's supposedly 10 times as bright and lasts 10 times as long. Also, because it's very stable, it can take over a decade to wear out, whereas zinc sulfide would get noticeably dimmer after a few months of use. Now it's secure in place, we can remove the bands. There are a load of different ways to style the tails on these, but I'm going to keep it simple today, matching the rest of the lantern. I'm going to cut mine at about a finger's length at a sharp angle. Now when I slightly bend the strings, it looks a bit like a feather. Now I'm going to repurpose this metal part of a broken clothes hanger to create a nice hook shape for the lantern. I'm going to bend it into shape with some pliers and snap off the threaded end. And once we've installed the hook through our loop, our lantern is done. I hung mine as close to the light as I could off of the pull-up bar in my room near the window. That way it will always be charging. You can get this glow-in-the-dark powder in all sorts of different colours, but I thought the sky blue one looked the most fun, so I got that one. Apparently some colours are brighter and last longer than others. It also feels quite nice to hold as a lantern. I'm going to hold it up to a wall in the dark so you can see how brightly it reflects. Thanks for joining me today. See you around.